Hey, bubbling, coming in, crushing this art. Welcome to Bublin's Astrologic Numerology. So today we're bringing up Aries correlated numerology, and also a little bit about once we discover numbers that fit the sort of qualifications for how to calculate like Aries-based numbers, right? How we can sort of like interpret charts, right? And maybe look into. I might do another video actually on how to look into the 1 through 9, like what each sigil 1 through 9 stand for and why. So, the first things first is I have a board here of all the cardinal numbers, right? We have the cardinal realm 1, 2, 3, right? And then we have the cardinal placements 1, 4, 7, right? 4, the cardinal placement in the fixed realm, and 7, the cardinal placement in the mutable realm. So, obviously, 1 is the most cardinal number, right? It all points to 1 here. So yeah, 1 is the ideal number, but if we put all 1s through a 9-base system, it would actually create an air number. So that would actually be a great way to sort of balance out ending with an 11. That would balance out, and starting with an 11 would sort of balance out the fire quality and try to make it a little more relatable. But I was looking for Aries based numbers, right? And 33 is actually a fire number. So yeah, so basically, here's the first number that I'm showing for nine just numbers that fill out their own chart. And we can explain what this would mean then for this particular number, 331,131,133. We could explain this. And I like doing 9 digits because then we have a full chart, right? Each space has its own number now in each digit place, right? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's a completed chart. And also, I made sure to utilize cardinal based numbers. But yeah. So here's the one I'm giving you guys. I also want to give you guys the formulation for how to calculate these. But we'll start with decoding this one, I think. So so I made the chart right here, right? And we can see how it correlates to this one, right? So basically, in the first place, this does have a little bit of bringing people in quality, right? Because 3, we see right here, is the cardinal realm, but it's a mutable placement. So it's completely in its own mind, but it wants to share that. It wants to draw people in. It wants to figure out how to make that relatable, though it is unchanging from its perspective. So having this in the personal quality is like every time we're trying to move about in our own way, in our personal direction, in our personal creation, is going to be driving again in our own way, but we're going to be trying to let people in, right? And that's how we would sort of be coming from it. And then since it's symmetrical, it's same with the space, same with 9. 9 being the circumstance and everything that's around us would be the sigil 2 of being in our own space, but drawing people in and being receptive on how that's seen, right? So then we can go to 2 and 8, right? These are kind of both the learning experiences and what we have to sort of learn in our life personally and sort of with the environment, right? It's the same thing personally and with the environment, what we're learning. See, because these fall into the elements. We see this 4 here. They all have fixed qualities. This means they attach to something, in which case we have a tool or an actual physical thing that we have to learn about and operate through, right? So when it comes down to our personal habits and sort of what we connect to personally versus what we connect to in the world, we're still in a place of trying to express ourselves, but have that be relatable, right? And there's learning experiences that come to help us do that, how to personally view that, and how to get that across. So then when we have, then when we're referencing the 3, right? This is actually where the 3 place is. The 3 we reference our 1. So we're doubling down on Aries, saying our own space and how we let people in. We're very personal there. We're taking that all for ourselves, right? It's the power of us. And then same with this. When we go out into the world in order to express ourselves, right? This 7 right here, mutable realm, cardinal placement, going out into the world in order to express yourself. Yeah, we're right on it. We're expressing ourselves, right? And then we get the same with these two learning experiences. These are on the one side. So when it comes down to learning more personal expression, right, because this is the fixed realm, like we see, but it's a cardinal placement. So what just makes sense, but that's geared towards us, what we're filtering through the world, but that's geared through us, like expression. And then we have the, or no, I guess this would more so be the earth, right? Then when would it come to, my bad, then when would it come to the six, what's fixed through the world, but it's geared towards others, right? Because this would be what makes sense that's received, but this would be what makes sense that's us, right? And what makes sense that's us is more like our body, and what makes sense that's received is more like the realm of expression. So we'd more so here be learning about personal, connections, right, to truth, aka things like responsibility, things like our purpose, um, things like that, being in the social realm, but what we have control over, right, like our workspace, like things like that, versus things in the social realm or things in the real world that can get across. This will more so be like the general communication sphere, like how things are viewed and talked about, right? And we're learning, we're learning that from a personal perspective in this too. And then when it comes to five, the actual thing that's everything through the social realm, the sense, the logic, or the laws, the truth, sort of what we go through every day, right? What's stable, just what's there, what's holding us, what we work through. This would again call back to our personal realm from letting people in, right? So learning how to mix ourselves and our visions with the world around us, right? And then still gearing that to make sense, gearing that to actually be powerful, right? This three aspect to actually let people in, to gas us up. So we're not completely going our own way, deluding ourselves, but we have this little bit of gas showing us how to how to really get that going. So that's just a little bit about sorry, hope that's not too loud. That's a little bit about how to break down the number. And maybe I'll make a separate video on that too, just more in depth. But then I'll go back to, and like I said, this is the number. How do we come about this number and make sure that this is correlated to fire? And it is cardinal, right? So one of the things we know, first off, about numbers is that if we add them together, we'll find where they are around the dial of 9, right? So I can see if this number correlates to 1 by adding it up, right? And 3 plus 3 plus 1 is 7. 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. And then 1, 3 plus 3 again is 7. So then 7 plus 7 is 14, right? And then 14 plus 5 is 19, right? And then 1 plus 9 is 10. I don't know why I did that. And then 10 is 1, right? So we know it's 1. But then how do we know it's fire? Well, fire and air are both odd, right? They're both masculine elements, though air is working through the body of water. Thus is why expression or thought, if it's not received, it doesn't have any body, though our passions blare on regardless through us, or our visions, right? So fire is 1, and then when 1 and 2 mix, they have 3, because 1 seed can go within 2, aka our personal potential has the ability to channel the nature and utilize it to express itself, right? So then air starts at 3, and then so it would go 1 fire, 2 water, 3 air, and then 4 earth. When then the water expresses itself through the fire, aka circumstances, situations, and things chasing our spirit and our way of do things, creating accumulations like our body, right? Now the circumstance is actually in the shape of us, right? And this is earth, and this is, So basically the pattern we find in fire and air is 1, 5, and 9 on one side and 3 on 7 on the other, being that anytime we have an even here, because when we get to 20, it'll loop back. So we can utilize the tens place as a marker. When we have an even here, and it's 1, 5, and 9, we have fire. And it'll be the same with 20. 21, 25, and 29 are all fire. It'd be the same with 40. 41, 45, and 49 are all fire. And or vice versa, if we have 3, 7, and it's even here, it's air. Okay? And then so similarly, when it gets to the tens, if the tens, it's the opposite. If we have odd and we have 3 or 7, it's fire. And if we have odd and it's 1, 5, and 9, it's air. So that's just a little like cheat code that sort of I use. And so basically, if I was going to look at this, one of the things I do like to do too is just base 10 it. So basically, or like look at where it is in the place of 20, right? So if I subtract 20 from 33, or if I just look at the 20s, which would be 10, or what I do, yeah, is look at the 20s, which would be 20, and then I would know it's 13 from 20, and then I would think, okay, where's 13 on the scale of 4, right? And then I would think, oh, well, 12 is Earth, because I know 4, 8, 12, 16 are the multiples of Earth within 20. So 12 is Earth, and then 13 is 1 past it. So it would like cycle back to 1 and it would be fire, right? So if that makes sense, because this would like loop at 20, all these hundreds places don't matter, because any extra 100 just adds place to these two digits right here. So if you know your base 20 system, and you also know, okay, well, like, look, if it's odd, right? Or if it's even, or no, if it's odd, right? And it's 3 or 7, like we have down here, then if the tens place is odd and it's 3 or 7, then we have 5, right? And we see that here. So yeah. So that's a little bit about the rules and what we need to make sure of in order for it to be a fire number, right? And I put it here, tens place even, tens place odd. And so yeah, this was how to be fire, 9 digits and symmetrical using cardinal placements. So to be odd, I would begin these numbers with 1, 3, or 7. To be fire, I begin with 1. The eighth and the second must be 2 or 4 even, such that it would be like 21 or 41, right? These numbers, because if it was 11, 13, or 17, right? Because this is odd, this would make them all air, right? So in order to keep them fire, when we begin and end with 1, right, we're going to need to make sure that the 1 before the 1, aka the tens place, the second place, and because they're symmetrical, that would correlate with the 8th place, we need to make sure that that would be 2 or 4 even, because 1 with the odd number, 1, 3, or 7, would create an air number. So then on the other scale, if we begin and end with 3 or 7, since these are odd, the 8th and the second must be 1, 3, or 7, which were the odds as well in this, right? In the cardinal numbers. So that's a little bit about how to calculate these, and then you would just play with the inside. Now that, say, 33 was one of those, right? Like we chose to begin and end with 3, right? So we chose the second must be 33. Well, now we just filter through, now that we have the beginning and the second and 8th places, or the 9th, the 1st, and the 2nd and the 8th, the 9th, the 1st, the 2nd, and the 8th. We can just fill in these ones with symmetrical like numbers. So I can just go 1, 1, right? And then go 1, 3, 1. And then make sure on a remainder calculator that remainder 36, it's 1. Because that's the zodiacal placement of Aries, numerologically. So I hope that makes sense. I guess in the end it's kind of challenging. This is why if you need any help calculating numbers that correspond to you, let me know or hit me up. I got you. But basically I just use a remainder calculator, and with these last 5 digits play around with the numbers in here and filter through until I find every iteration. So that's why if you need any help, let me know. I got you. Yeah. Hey, bubbly, Citra, beach.